distance, the world looks blue and green, and the snow-capped mountains white. From a distance, the ocean meets the stream, and the eagle takes to flight. From a distance, there is harmony, and it echoes through the land. It's the voice of hope, it's the voice of peace, it's the voice of every man. From a distance, we all have enough, and no one is in need. And there are no guns, no bombs, and no disease, no hungry mouths to feed. From a distance, we are instruments marching in a common band, playing songs of hope, playing songs of peace. They're the songs of every man. God is watching us, God is watching us, God is watching us from the distance. From a distance, you look like my friend, even though we are at war. From a distance, I just cannot comprehend what all this fighting is for. From a distance, there is harmony, and it echoes through the land. It's the hope of hopes, it's the love of loves, it's the heart of everyone. It's the hope of hopes, it's the love of love. This is the song of everyone. And God is watching us, God is watching us, God is watching us from a distance. Oh, God is watching us, God is watching, God is watching us from a distance. Give it your best shot.
Follow that. Your job is done.
That's
easy.
Could you hand me one of those? Who picks this music?
You. Okay, note to self, that should be a song that you close the service with. Woohoo! How was that?
All right. I'm Mr. W.
All right. From a distance. I guess my question would be, how far would that have to be to see the world like that? How far would it have to be? I say often to myself, can you guys hear me? Are we all right? Okay, thank you. And I appreciate you giving me a little grace there on turning the sound on while I was having my moment. I say to myself, Penny, maybe instead of stepping back from this, you need to step up from this so that you can get the God's eye view. Because maybe stepping back is not where the healing happens and where the learning starts. Maybe it's about stepping up and taking from a distance the God's eye view. Sometimes I listen. Sometimes not so much. What you see is what you get. Is that how you feel? What you see is what you get. It could be a very positive, very affirming thing. It also sets you up not to have any more expectations of what you're looking at. What you see is what you get. I have a couple of things I'd like to share with you today about the power of perception, a gift in the shift. When have you had a perception in your life and it became a belief? And then that belief became a practice. And pretty soon, every decision you're making is based on that perception. Have you ever done that?
Sure.
All the time we're doing it. All the time. So I have something I want to show you. Now, don't anybody shout what you see. Just look at this. So interestingly enough, there's a couple things going on in this picture. Oh, maybe we should show our fans, right? I don't know if they'll be able to see that or not, but, and we do have fans. I have a little report about that I'll share a little later. So who sees an Eskimo?
Yeah, see both.
Yeah. What else do we see? A face. Let's try another one, just for the fun of it. What do you see? What do you see, Bruce?
I see both.
You see both? A young woman and an elderly woman. Now, I get so focused on that beautiful young woman, I like to think of that as a self-portrait. And then I have to step back and take a new perspective, take a new look. And there's actually a very elderly woman there. One more, just for the fun of it. What do you see here? Saxophone player, yeah. What else do you see? A woman's face. Isn't that amazing? I think those things are amazing. Today we're talking about perspective. It's that simple. What do you see? And from moment to moment, it can change. Did you notice that? And once somebody said, young woman, old woman, boom, you could see them. Once somebody said, saxophone player, boom, you could see it. In the right light, it was a beautiful woman's face. With a twist of the head, it was a saxophone player. We do it all the time, folks. We're doing it all the time in our lives. The really cool thing about being reminded of this, because this isn't new information, you probably all have seen those before and thought, now I know there's something else there. What am I supposed to be seeing there? Not that we ever repeat our lessons in life. Not that we ever have to go back and look again. Not that we ever need to back up or lift up and take a different view. We're doing it all the time. So what does this mean, and what does it have to do with your life? Think about it. Think about the way that you deal with adversity. Let's start there because that's so fun. Think about how you feel and deal with a differing opinion. Does that ever happen in today's world? Think about how you feel and respond to rejection. And let's try some happy ones. Think about how it feels when you know you're right. That's one of my favorite ones. Think about how it feels when you are filled with joy. All the time, we get to choose. The good news is that if you're working on changing your perception, the really good news is that you are opening yourself up to amazing discovery. You know, there were some really cranky and crazy perceptions that went on in the world and still do. You know, before this fabulous E=mc² that Albert Einstein introduced to us, we thought everything was driven by gravity, right? That there was, the new world discovery would dramatically change when he introduced this whole concept and how it relates to the world. It only took us till 1925 to do that. How long have we been on this planet to figure that out? Whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, see these things, is what we're told in Philippians from the Bible. Now, perception is tricky because we all have our own. We all have our own view of the world. And then we create beliefs out of that, as we talked about earlier. And then we start to move forward and we start doing life from these belief systems. Now, I have shared with you before, I have an acronym for belief systems. It's BS, belief systems. Because, folks, most of the time, that's what they are. And they impact our perception at levels that prevent us from becoming the expression of who we are. I was told you will never be good with money when I opened my first bank account at 14 years old. And I never reconcile a bank account that I don't think of that. I have a story, and we are magical, powerful storytellers. Not only the ones that come out of our mouths, but the ones that we're running in here. And they are impacting and influencing our perception all the time. I heard that there were 30 people in the room last Sunday. I wasn't here. Should I take that information and say, you're not doing this right, Penny? Should I take that information and say, you must be in the wrong business, Penny? No. But I could. Oh, trust me. There's that fleeting moment that it happens when I start counting chairs. And I should get out of the chair counting business because it has an impact on how I have the opportunity to show up. How many chairs in your life are you counting? Where in your life are you counting chairs that then are given the power to impact your perception of the world? The really cool thing about this perception thing is that we all have our own. And we are in complete command of it. It doesn't matter what's going on. And there are things going on in our lives. Some of them don't feel good. Some of them just stink. But you have complete control of the perception. It doesn't mean that's not happening. I'm not asking you to live in fairyland. I'm not asking you to pretend like it's not going on in your life, whatever it is. However, you are being invited into, how do you want to see it now? Is it going to be a young woman or an old lady? Is it going to be a saxophone player or a beautiful face? You're choosing all the time. Now, the tricky part about unity in our teachings is we really are responsible for that. We believe that we're responsible for that. I like it so much better when somebody else can be responsible for that. Well, he made me feel this way. Well, she made me think that. Really? Really? How many of you know me? When was the last time you think that somebody made me think something? I mean, come on, God and I have that conversation all the time, right? We have that power all the time. Now, that's not really news. Oh, nothing I say is really news. You guys have heard this stuff. All I'm doing is giving you an opportunity to have a different perspective about it, to maybe look at it a little differently. I'm going to try to, oh no, I did bring them. Oh, I'm so excited. I woke up one day and my arms were too short. So, this is what Bruce Lipton tells us in The Biology of Belief. Once we accept perceptions, the human brain's ability to learn perceptions is so advanced that we can actually acquire perceptions indirectly from teachers. I felt a little nervous about that when I read that. Once we accept the perceptions of others as truths, their perceptions become hardwired into our own brains, becoming our truth. Consequently, programmed misperceptions in our subconscious mind are not monitored and will habitually engage us in inappropriate and limiting behaviors. What you looking at? What do you see now? Where in your life could you maybe see something that much different? When I was a construction manager, I used to tell the guys on the job site, look, that's about a 1/4 inch out right now. It's just only about a 1/4 inch off. However, I will tell you this, by the end of the project, it'll be 1.5 feet out. And then we'll have to deal with the problem. The perception is it's only a 1/4 inch. Having no connection to how it impacts the bigger picture, how many perceptions in your life are you practicing like that?
Wow.
Just a thought. Maybe a new thought. You know what I say about new thought? We ought to get one. Let's do that. Where in your life is it only just a little 1/4 inch off? But the impact that it's making because of the way that you view it right now will have tremendous effect on your life. Is that happening for anyone else in the room? This is who we are as powerful, amazing spiritual beings. And even if you're not buying into the spiritual piece of that, this is who we are as amazing, functioning, storytelling, mind-blowing humans. We are changing how we see the world by how we see the world. We're doing it all the time. The problem is this. The brain has evolved to the point that it processes information automatically. They call these heuristics, mental shortcuts. And they're built in, and we have this capacity because we don't want to have to stop and discern every little thing in life. In order to function in this world, we have to be able to do this processing like this. And so we run off with these perceptions that we have and we start plugging them in without ever investigating them. Today is about that. Today, the invitation is to investigate those perceptions. And the science of it goes like this. When you start to see it, and this is science, as Dr. Bruce Lipton will tell us in The Biology of Belief, when you start to see it in a different light, in a different way, it has the capacity to change. This is quantum physics. I'm sorry about the science lesson this morning, but I love this stuff. And I love when we tie it to the healing and the connection to the one power and the one presence that exists in our lives and in this world. This is no longer just woo-woo New Thought stuff. This is science. This works. It applies to this life we're living every moment. I took a little fall about 3 weeks ago off of a 6-foot ladder in this room, and most of you know this. Look at this. Ta-da,
Ta-da.
ta-da, ta-da. I'm not in a sling, ta-da. My perspective when I hit that ground was, you are too old to be doing this. And that wasn't necessarily a bad perspective. But it also gave me a whole new way to look at how I participate and show up on Sunday mornings to help make this service happen. And today, I arrived here at 9:39. That is the first ever. I'm always the first one in the room. I'm always in charge, and I'm always driving the bus.
You're fired!
And I think I have fired myself from some of those things that I thought were mine to do. And what I came into was an amazing room that was set up better than I would have ever seen it by incredible people. If you were involved in that, raise your hand. I want to thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And it got done. And my perception this morning at 9:40 shifted. I have work to do here. My new work is to show up as the minister, not the maintenance man.
Yes.
Amen.
My work is to show up and be the expression that God calls me into. Now, does that mean I won't ever set up another chair or another table? Now, you know that ain't gonna happen. However, it will be approached from a different perspective. And I came into an amazing group of people that looked empowered and at peace and at ease. And I gotta tell you, sometimes when I'm driving the bus, that's not the way it feels. I know how I drive. It's a perspective shift. And there's a gift in that shift. And the gift is, these folks were empowered, and so was I. Where in your life, the simplest of little things that you can start with this week, where in your life is that possible? And where in the bigger places in your life will it make a profound difference? Perceptive is the way we feel, the way we see things when we look at them from a certain distance, and it allows us to appreciate their value. I have more appreciation this morning for those volunteers than I have ever had, because I was so busy driving the bus that I couldn't see the children in the back being slung from side to side. Perception makes a difference. It changes it. Doesn't it change it? It changes it. Perspective. This is what Webster has to say about it. A particular attitude toward or a way of regarding something. It's a point of view. Check your perceptions out. Look them over. Investigate them. Rip them apart. They might be perfect. They might serve you right where you're at, and they are exactly as they should be. But without investigation, we're going down the road of building belief systems that then cause us to have behaviors that then impact the way that we can show up in this world and the way that the universe and God can express through us. Don't drive the bus if you're not the bus driver. Let go of that perspective. Let go of that perception. It is freeing. I gotta tell you, if I had 2 wings I could flap, I probably would. God is watching us and watching over us. When we try to defy gravity and we hit the ground, God is watching us, and we are given the opportunity to shift our perspective. This is not brain surgery, but it's a lot of brain work, and it's tied directly to our soul, because then, and only then, are we allowed to see from the God point of view. I see the God in you. And I see the God in you. because I have the perspective that God resides and expresses as you. I'm not always that good in traffic with that. I'm going to tell you a quick story. There was a time that I served for a very large church, and that came to an end. And before the next gig started, I went to work as a barista in a Starbucks that I had built 8 years before. And I showed up in my green apron, and I was good. The kids loved to put me on the register. People love to tip old ladies in a Starbucks. And I'm hauling the trash out. And I'm in my green apron, and I'm crossing the drive-thru, and there's a green Lexus that belonged to the gentleman that released me from that position with that church. And I'm hauling the trash out. And I am not happy. I am thinking, really, God? Really? So fast forward. I'm standing in a Starbucks this time as a customer, not even 3 miles down the road. And there was a woman that passed by me really quickly as I'm standing there waiting for my overpriced coffee in a very crowded room. And all of a sudden she stops and she turns around and she comes back, and I look at her. And she says to me, "Venti hot chocolate double whip." I said, "I remember you." She said, "You prayed with me in a Starbucks about the cancer that I had and I had overcome." And she said, "I can't believe I just came from a doctor's office and you're the first person I run into, and it's back." And I could not tell you to this day that woman's name, but what I can tell you is that venti hot chocolate with double whip changed my perspective about why I was in that green apron, crossing a drive-thru in front of a green Lexus. That perspective changed my life, and it changed the way I could show up for her and for myself. I'll gladly make you a hot chocolate with double whip any day if it blesses me the way that that experience did. And it was a shift in perspective. It was a shift in my perception that made that a valuable, life-changing event. It's hot chocolate, folks. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? I could see so much more clearly the reason that I was put right where I was put, when I was put there. It is not mine to question that. It is not mine. But I have the power within me to shift it all the time, to change how I see it, and it will change. This is easy stuff. No, it's simple stuff. Some days it's the hardest work I do. How about you? I want to see the world in a way that brings me joy. I was told once, you know, Penny, you're walking around in this world with your eyes closed. And after about hearing that for almost 40 years, I finally said, you know what? I think you're right about that. And I love what I see. When I can look inward, I can be at peace, and I can see the world in a new way, and I can serve at greater depths, and I can heal in more magnificent ways than I ever thought possible. I love seeing clearly. I invite you into looking at your perspectives. There's power in the shift.
Oh my God.